Hey, Pistons fans, welcome back to yet another episode of the Buffs on podcast. And as you can tell, no Amit today. He's out swamped in schoolwork. But the good news is Gabe and Connie are back. And even better news, we have a very special guest, Mr. Hot Takes himself, Mike Brooks. Mike, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and your connection with the Pistons?
Hey, what's going on? Long time friend with Connie, and grew up in Michigan. Love the Detroit Pistons. Love all the Detroit sports. Happy to be here.
Now you're mainly a Lions guy. That's what I would say.
Oh yeah,
A
go to
diehard
every single
Lions.
game. Season ticket holder. Go to every single game. Love my Lions.
Now me and Mike have had a lot of spirited conversations about the Pistons throughout the days as roommates. One thing I know
3 years of roommates.
3 years of roommates, and Mike is not afraid to voice his concerns.
Absolutely not.
About the teams. So yeah.
Yeah, might be a bit of a change of pace today. We might hear some arguing, some conversations, but
Let's get it
got
going.
four
I'm
of us
ready.
here
I'm
today.
ready.
We're back. What's that, Mike?
I'm ready. Let's get it going.
Oh yeah, baby. So the Pistons played a few games this last week. Most notably, they had a couple back-to-backs at home against the Indiana Pacers, two hard-fought games. And they even won a game, snapping that 11 games in a row losing streak. And fortunately, on the same day, the Rockets won, so no harm done there. But yeah, couple of wins. You guys know where I want to start, and that's the third quarter with Killian Hayes. But kind of want to open the floor on what you guys saw. Again, we lost. Again, forgot to say we lost tonight against Washington. Rough display. But a win in the week is a rare one. What'd you guys like throughout this week? What'd you see?
I mean, yeah, there was one win. You want to talk about the third quarter with Killian Hayes? Can't even talk about a full game.
Oh, we can talk about the full 17, 6, and 13 he had. But specifically that third quarter, it's becoming more clear to me. And after what Dwayne Casey said, he said that Killian is starting to make the right reads, right plays like a veteran. It's showing to me that I believe Killian Hayes is going to be the backup point guard next year for sure, where he can just run the offense. That's as far as I'll go for now. We've seen a bit more scoring, a bit more usage out of him. I thought he was all right. Kind of. I know you've had some different views on him, but an exceptional third quarter on a 17-13 night, followed up with another double-double and a win against the Pacers. It's a decent time to be a Killian supporter, but you have other opinions then?
I don't know about the other two guys out here, but I didn't think Killian played very good this week. I was watching those games. I saw it 17-13. I saw that quarter. Quarter was very nice. But I came away thinking from this week, which was some nice box scores from Killian. The stat line seems like it's always a beneficiary of other people. Like even when he plays well, I watch the games and I don't think he played very well. Maybe I'm just biased, but
I mean, he opened the game that we won versus Indiana really well. He had like 7 assists in the first 8 minutes or something, 5 minutes, something like that. When he plays with pace, and when we're playing against the B team Pacers, he looks pretty good.
But that's the issue. It's 7 in the first 5 minutes. He had 11 on the game. The guy plays 5 minutes max of a game in a really nice pass. I never said there's highs with Killian. It's just that most of the time he's
No, I agree. I don't think he's a good player.
Yeah, I got something to say about Killian Hayes.
Oh yeah, what you got?
Well, I'll give you guys in the podcast an exclusive content here. Valley and I happened to go to the Pistons game against the Bulls, and we ended up sitting next to Troy Weaver. And I always like watching Troy Weaver's body movement and understanding what he thinks of Killian Hayes after he makes a play.
Body language doctor.
Yeah, and watching the game, Killian Hayes didn't have a bad game. He had some good ball movement, but the one thing I just can't stand is honestly his 3-point shooting. I've never been a fan of his 3-point shooting. And I remember him hitting a corner 3 swished it, and Troy Weaver shook his head, and I can have confirmation from Valley that the guy was struggling watching Killian Hayes hitting trees once in a while. So, I don't, the guy's a nice little bench warmer, but the only thing I really do admire is his defense. You can't go wrong with defense, but his 3-point shooting is definitely a hard struggle to watch.
I say scoring on all three levels is tough to watch,
I agree. I was being too nice.
Yeah, you were. I mean, he can hit those middies, but on offense, he pounds the air out of the ball a lot of the time. Like you said, when he's moving fast and he's going downhill, and the offense is playing the full court, is running down. Mm-hmm. It's nice to watch, but in those half court sets,
Valley says he's confident in being that backup point guard next year. Are we really confident in that? Are we really confident that Killian Hayes will be the backup point guard for the Detroit Pistons next year?
What do you think, Gabe?
What do you think?
I don't know if we're losing Gabe there, so I guess I'll have to answer this one. Oh, Gabe's back now. Do you hear the question, Gabe?
Okay. No, I was just gonna say the backup point guard for next year. I think the important part of that is next year. We're not going to be a good team next year, and it's still a development year for all our guys. We're going to try to improve, obviously, when we have Wemby, hopefully, at the 4.
Yep. It's just between 2 and 5 picks in the lottery. It's very heavy. It's guard heavy. It's very guard heavy, and obviously Victor's the top priority. But, if you fall back, there's a good chance we're drafting a guard, most likely.
And that's fine. I'd rather have Ivy off the bench.
You got Ivy.
The Killian role.
Well, maybe Ivy, you never know. He's very explosive, very explosive athlete. You never know if he starts. But if we have a true point, I know Scoot's not really of a true point, but there's other
we have a true point.
We have Cade.
Yeah, but I'm saying off the bench. Then,
if we have Ivy, Cade, and Scoot, it'll work out.
Where does Killian stand after drafting a point guard and keeping Alec Burks and maybe Diallo if they plan to re-sign him? So, where does Killian fit in that rotation?
In this hypothetical, we get what? Scoot Henderson in that lower pick?
Just for example, Scoot.
Yeah. If we get that third guard, I think Killian falls clear behind if it's Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey,
and
draft pick guard Scoot Henderson. Killian falls behind those guys, and if that's falling under the bench, that's fine. At that point, I would be wary if it's even a 6-man role, if it's a run the second unit role,
because here's the other thing: would you take Alec Burks off the bench or Killian Hayes?
I mean, what my answer is going to be. My answer is going to be Alec Burks. He provides way more shooting, and if we have those A1 ball handlers or those guys that, if the selection is of people with the ball in their hands is Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes, and Scoot Henderson, for instance. Killian Hayes is the last option to have the ball in his hands, and we've seen to be effective, he needs the ball in his hands. Is he going to play next to another guard? He's shown that he can't do that
because he can't play off the ball.
He can't play off the
ball.
ball.
I still think that's his best NBA outcome, to be a Lonzo Ball type.
Yeah, what? Lonzo Ball shot over 40% on 8 attempts a game.
And that's what Killian needs to do. Lonzo couldn't shoot when he came in the league.
Yeah, Lonzo was not there right away. His jumper was mechanically terrible, and he had a complete revamp of his jumper, way more than what we've seen from Killian Hayes so far.
And, I'll give Killian this. He's so far staying healthy, which is a really, that's a whole piece of the puzzle there, too, is staying healthy. And he's done a decent job taking care of his body. So, he's reliable. He's not injury prone as of now, which is, good thing, good start.
Well, and that's something Like
Except
he's
for his
been
entire
battling through
rookie
that. Yeah.
season.
We talked about that. He's had injury problems in the past, but this season, Casey said he's played through things. We saw a bit of a knee-to-knee collision, maybe some light knee contusion from the other night in Indiana, but hop right back into the game. But the one thing I will give Killian that I think Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey will give Killian is the fact that he never really got to be the true backup point guard of and run the second unit this year because Cade missed so much time. Jaden Ivey's ended up missing quite a bit of time as well that it's forced Killian to hop back into the starting lineup. So he never really got a full period of time on the bench other than the start of the season where he admittedly was horrendous, looked like a terrible NBA player. But I do think that Casey, having said, he gets us in our sets, gets us in our place, I do think that he will still, as long as he's at the helm, bring Killian Hayes off the bench next season. I think the front office does value him a little bit. And I at least I hope he'll be the sixth man, but a lot of Killian talk here.
I do agree with that. I do think they do value Killian a lot because, I'm just giving you that inside scoop. Valley, you and I were watching Troy Weaver. We were 15 feet away from him that whole game, and we were looking at him a majority of the plays, and they showed most emotion towards Killian Hayes. So I think negative.
Well, you just said that he was shaking his head on a Killian three.
Yeah.
Just to get back to it, Lonzo was a 40% three-point shooter in college and shot near 40% in his third year in the league. Like, there's been no backing of Killian being a good three-point shooter. Everything says that he's an on-the-ball point guard, run your offense type guy. Like, he's shown really nothing to the contrary.
He's also, 21? Played one NBA season, basically. Like, he can improve, is all I'm saying. I'm saying he doesn't possess the creation to be a point guard, I think. So I think he wants to stay in this league. He should just work on becoming a knockdown three-point shooter and defense.
Yeah, and a lot of Killian talk here. As you guys can tell, not a lot of Killian Hayes fans in here outside of me with no Amit here today. But we're gonna move on from him because there's a lot of other people on this basketball team, even though we're missing 7 to 8 guys at the moment. Jalen Duren, we got him back. So good to have him back. James Wiseman's getting more reps in. What have you guys thought of the bigs recently? And yeah, what do you guys thought about the bigs recently?
Well, Connie, you said you had a Jalen Duren thing you want to talk about.
So when he was playing that first bout, pre-ankle soreness injury that kept him out, he showed us a lot of things that we really liked, and we're all high on Jalen Duren. He's my favorite Piston. Since he came back from that injury, that timeout, I think he's been almost a different guy, and in a good way. He's still playing with so much energy, going for all those boards, smashing dudes, putting bodies on guys. But we're almost seeing some almost borderline high level post work out of this guy. And the nice lays, he had the baseline spin to the left hand reverse. He's had a couple nice up and unders. He's had a couple which I've talked about not liking in the past, where he doesn't just go into the guy and up. He even had a couple of those. He's shown some stuff about being a guy that teams have to worry about in the post, which if that is a thing, his passing becomes even more valuable. And he's clearly been doing his Mikins. That man's left hand has come out of absolutely nowhere. The touch with the left hand on hook shots, on finishes. He had one where he caught the short roll and just kind of extended out with the left hand past the defender and just did a nice little scoop. And that was just something that's like a high level of touch. And he's playing like a guy we already know he looks like a guy that's a lot older than he is, but he seems like he's starting to play like a guy who's a lot older than he is. And his effort and energy is such a juxtaposition to the starting center role on this team right now. I feel like, yeah, that's
he's also hitting his free throws.
Hitting his free throws. He's really everything you'd want out of a big.
More recently, last 2-3 games, he's been experimenting with a couple of jumpers as well. None of them have gone in, but I saw him even take a little one-legged post fadeaway that did not go in. But you mentioned the post scoring, and I do think that's something that's kind of a vocal point of what Weaver and Casey want to do here, because you look at the guys we brought in. We have Wiseman. We have, when we thought we already had too many bigs, we have Wiseman. Obviously Jalen Duren just mentioned, Marvin Bagley, and we've been playing Bagley and Wiseman together. I think there's an emphasis on post scoring or just big man buckets in general. So I think more of that post up game, we're going to see more of that post up game from Jalen Duren, which is really exciting because he looks dominant down there. We might see more of James Wiseman, as ugly as that may be at times, as we saw tonight against Kristaps Porzingis. But I think playing through the bigs is something we're just going to see a lot more of, especially should we theoretically land Victor Wembanyama.
Now, you think that's this season, or you think that's moving forward? Like, do you think they're going to the post this much because it's kind of just necessity because we're really not creating good offense anywhere else?
I think a little bit, but I do see that being still like a pretty important piece to what we do next season, because there seems to be a want to play two bigs, which means there's always going to be a little mismatch. Should that be Isaiah Stewart next season, starting next to, let's say, Jalen Duren or James Wiseman? I think either way, we're going to see quite a few post buckets, because Weaver said you need size to compete. And he mentioned Philadelphia, Cleveland. He said you need size to compete. So if he did that, I think it's for a reason. And I think we're going to see more Wiseman in the post as he develops, as the team develops, and same with Duren and Bagley.
All right.
And I hope next season Duren starts over Wiseman. I really do. I think he's got
two of them.
Spread the floor. I think he could just rebound just as good as him. He doesn't foul as much as Wiseman. He's a little bit better on the defensive end. But I like Wiseman on this team. I like how he has a second chance. I definitely see him getting heavy minutes next year on his contract year. But I really like still Duren off the bench or starting, and hopefully have Stewart maybe playing power forward with his, jumping, his jump shot improving year by year. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Gabe.
I hate Bagley. I just hope he doesn't play next year. I think Wiseman should be that guy off the bench. I think Duren and Stu, the thing Wiseman doesn't have is basketball IQ, and that's the hardest thing to teach, and it's often impossible to teach to players.
Do you think Duren and Stewart have basketball IQ?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stewart's just an oaf, but he's smart. They can both pass. They position well defensively and offensively. And Stu can shoot. And Wiseman can rebound and block and do all the things that.
Yeah.
I think Wiseman
Duren does all the things that.
What was that?
I think Wiseman and Killian Hayes can have time off the bench next year.
I just think what Duren and Stu that I think gives them the minutes over Bagley and Wiseman and on a competitive team is a willingness to pass the ball and an openness to look for the next guy for the better shot, and not only just look out for your shots, because I've been watching those two big lineups, whether it's Bag Duren, Bag Wiseman, Duren. I see so often where Duren keeps the ball moving and even looks to get the other bigs involved. And then he'll go into a position where the other big, either Bagley or Wiseman, is working, and, Duren gets himself open, gets himself to a good shot. And those guys, they don't often return that favor to him. So there's a clear discrepancy in who's moving the ball, who's passing, who's looking out for themselves, or who's looking out for the team, which might be easier for Duren to do because he's a rookie and has little to prove or little to get going. He can really just play the way he wants to. Those other two guys, they're playing with some pressure to be good, and it seems that way. They force the issue a little too much on their own.
Yeah, and more recently, picking up a second 10-day contract now, Eugene Omorui, Mr. PhD, Mr. didn't start playing basketball till 10th grade in high school, has filled in kind of in like an Isaiah Stewart-esque role, I think, for me. He's really impressed me with his defense, switches really well. Greg Kelser noted how he moves his feet really, really well in the defensive end. Kind of said he plays a little bit like Draymond, but hey, the guy can actually shoot the ball. A second 10-day contract, Eugene Omarui. What are you guys' thoughts? And do you think there's a chance he's on this roster next season? Because for me, we and Amit discussed this. Been very impressed with Eugene Omarui. Like he's coming right away, made an impact, and just has a very good work ethic. That signature Detroit grit and grind. He wants to work harder than anybody. Any long-term future here for Eugene Omarui?
I think so. I'd rather have him than Bagley on the team. I'll be honest. He's
like, okay,
I mean,
Bagley's on a 3-year, $37 million. Like next
okay,
season, right? You see
but
Eugene
still, okay,
Omarui
is
on
he
the roster?
signed? Oh yeah. Well, and quickly, you asked if post-ups would continue next year. I hope they don't. Post-ups aren't in the NBA anymore. They don't work, especially with those two guys. I don't want to see another Bagley or Wiseman post-up that ends in like a 15-foot like hook shot spin that's off the mark. But yeah, Omarui, I mean, it's tough. He's behind Bogey, Livers, Stu.
It would be between him and Livers probably for a spot.
And it's Livers. They're going to choose Livers.
Livers,
They love Livers.
Been very vocal on being high on
But
them.
like, he's a 12th man. Yeah, sure, just bring him in. He's the hustler.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we can move Bagley, that would be ideal.
Right now, he's playing for like his NBA life. Like he's trying to get that second 10-day, and then he's trying to get that converted.
Man, talk about an NBA life, man. RJ Hampton, man, had a great game today. Borderline NBA player, proving him a little bit with the shooting today.
I like RJ Hampton, honestly. He's a guy I wouldn't mind on this team next year. A little backup point guard action, sixth man. Hey, he could bring some defense. Some moving on the fast break. We don't have a lot of guys like that at the point guard position.
Speedy guy.
Speedy guy, fast, yeah, and is not afraid. He'll take those shots at the end of the quarter, end of the buzzer, end of the shot clock. He'll get into the teeth. He misses a lot. He's not a perfect player, but
how we feeling? RJ Hampton or Killian Hayes?
Killian Hayes. I'm happy to see Hampton starting to make shots because his start to his Pistons stint was brutal.
I agree.
I think that would be an extreme overreaction in the short Piston career he's had.
Hey, he's only 22, man.
Older than Killian and not putting up as good a stats as him.
But real quick, back to Eugene. If Eugene, if he's on this team next year and plays on an actual contract, like where he's not fighting for a 10-day, and he keeps working as hard as he does now, there's a spot on this team. But there's always that wonder: is this who he is? Because none of us watched Eugene Omarui before he came to the Pistons. Is this who he is, or is this who he is when it's like the paycheck's on the line and
Yeah. Whole different story.
I think he'll probably get the contract through like end of summer league, end of training camp, and then unfortunately he'll be cut. Same with RJ Hampton. I think they're going to choose McGruder and Kojo.
As a Piston.
What?
RJ Hampton is shooting 45% from three as a Piston.
That's pretty. Isn't that?
It's a significant number.
That's a lot better.
I mean, would you bet any amount of money on him shooting over even 40% in a real whole NBA season?
No.
I can bet that he could probably shoot over 29%.
He could shoot over 30. I think he get to the point where he's a respectable shooter. He was 37 his last year.
We did give him a second year on that, but only this year is guaranteed. So it's kind of an audition for that second year. It's possible he ends up, 13, 14, 15th man, but I realistically don't see his future with the Detroit Pistons or really the NBA as a whole. But he's shown some signs to get a few flyers, RJ Hampton. Any other guys? We've had some solid performances from Corey Joseph, as fun as those are to talk about. Rodney McGruder, the scavenger, never complains, comes in and does his job.
Yeah.
Do you think those guys are going to be here next season?
They just stay ready.
I think so.
They're around for the ride, huh?
But, yeah, do you know their contract situation?
I do not, but I could get back to you on that one.
I'll look up Magruder. You look up Kojo.
Because honestly, Magruder's
Well,
he's a
Bogdan
proven shooter.
You think Bogdan's gonna stay?
Bojan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's under contract for like 2 more
Well,
years.
Do you think they'll trade him though?
Depends on who we draft. We're gonna trade at or after draft.
Yeah.
So that's really what this team is playing for. No, Magruder is unrestricted next year. He does hit shots, but I don't know.
After this year, he's unrestricted?
Yeah, this is last year on contract.
I'd like to re-sign him over RJ Hampton.
I probably would agree with you. You need people like that, just good veteran presence around. And like I said, never complain.
And he's a better player than RJ Hampton.
Always ready to go. He can shoot that thing, man. He can shoot that thing.
You got a mean lefty reverse as well.
Huh?
Did you see anything on Corey Joseph's contract?
Corey Joseph's contract. I thought you were looking that one up.
Oh, I thought we were going the other way.
My bad. We both looked up Magruder. Magruder, I think you can find most places. I'm fine with him on this team if it's for the minimum. Kojo is also unrestricted free agent after the summer. If I had to bet,
let him walk.
Neither of these guys are on the team next year.
We'll have to see on that one. We know Casey's got a good relationship with Corey Joseph, but any other subject you guys want to talk about? Because we do have Mike Brooks, who's known for hot takes, so we could open the floor a little bit and have some discussion.
Let's open it up.
And
Mike.
I can get it started if you guys want to think about something for a bit. But we talked about the draft a little bit earlier. We talked about the draft a little bit earlier, but just going a little bit more into that, I think obviously should the Pistons land the number 1 pick, or any team land the number 1 pick, that's clear. But should the Pistons land the number 2 pick, my take is we go Brandon Miller. A, he's not a guard. B, he's a good-sized wing who has fantastic scoring and shooting ability. I think he's going to have a nice run in the March Madness tournament, so it'll even further boost his stock. What do you guys think about Brandon Miller?
I think he's a bit overrated, honestly. Yeah. He doesn't shoot well from the field most games.
I heard he's a good shooter.
Yeah, but he goes like 5 for 20 a bit too often for my liking.
I like Brandon. He's been really open about his weaknesses in his game, which always bodes well for like improvement at those weaknesses. I love his style. I mean, he's the guy I would take it at any other pick but 1 and 2. He's got like exactly what this Pistons team needs, which is shooting wings, guys that aren't afraid to score, guys that aren't afraid to do some stuff about it.
And he shoots a tad over 40% from deep, which is a very good number. He pulls down over 8 rebounds a game, a steal and a block because he's long. And like you said, he fits in so well. That's why I would take him at number 2 if we theoretically end up picking there.
I mean, I'm no draft expert, but I did just see like a recent image of Scoot Henderson, though, where he looks like a monster.
Like a tight end.
He looks huge.
I think I know exactly what picture you were talking about. I saw it on Bleacher Report.
He looks freaky, man. And I just think, like, if we have the 2nd pick, I think there's really no choice about it other than to pick Scoot Henderson, just because, like, if you don't,
he's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, and he is amazing. Yeah, that's like a fireable offense. And I think having too many guards on this team, bad teams picking for position, is how to stay a bad team.
If anything, I'd be willing to trade down. I mean, like, it depends what the draft order is, who picks what. But, like, if we get 2 and let's say Spurs are 3 and they want Scoot, and so, I don't know, we trade 2 and whatever for that Brandon Miller pick. Speaking of the draft, Maxwell Lewis, I don't have very far behind Miller at all. I think he's going to be an insanely good player.
Kind of fell off a little bit, though, no?
He moves like Shea.
I got a little noise to tell you guys.
Yeah, because his team sucks.
You guys all believe in Cade Cunningham, correct?
Yeah.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
You guys believe in him. There's always stars that, say he needs help. He needs help. This is a lottery. It's never always goes your favor every single year. There's disappointments. You can always fall back extremely, or number one, if you fall back, say to 4 to 6 in that range, or 3 to 6, say, and the consolation prize, like Scoot Henderson, is out of the way picture. Do you trade that pick and maybe a pick in 2026 and maybe like a player to get an potential borderline all-star player that is good, that can team up with Cade for next year to change the roster a little around, tweak it, but add like a little star power to help team up with Cade and Jaden Ivey?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think the last thing this team needs is some like win now move where we trade away draft capital and try to play for the play-in tournament. I would rather another year of absolute doo-doo than to trade for some borderline low level all-star to win 38 games in the Eastern Conference and get like our teeth kicked in by the Bucks in the first round.
Completely agree.
Like I was thinking like a Lauri Markkanen or a Kyle Kuzma kind of player.
No shot.
I think if we still had Stan Van Gundy, that would always be a possibility. But this draft it's deep. Like you have Victor, Scoot, and Brandon Miller, the three guys we've mentioned. But I'm sure we'll have a whole episode once the offseason gets going about our mock drafts and stuff. But just at the top of my head, the Thompson twins look like some real talents and a position we do need, although you don't draft for fit. So me personally, I'd say absolutely not. I wouldn't gamble a future or another guaranteed paycheck to somebody just to win maybe 38 games, maybe make the play-in tournament. Opposite direction I would go in.
I've said this before. I trade I don't know again how it shakes up before 3 and 4. I trade Ivy in that pick to go to 2 to get Scoot. If the team would be open to moving that number 2 pick, of course.
Yeah.
You said you like that?
I don't hate that.
I'm still very not open to
we don't know enough
Jaden
about
Ivey.
Scoot. It would have to. I mean, like if they see the draft workouts and like all the shit, and they're like, "This is the guy," then I'm okay with that. But teams are always less reluctant to let go of those real top picks unless you're really juicing it. Because if he really is that good that you want to trade Jaden Ivey for him and another pick, everybody else sees that too. They're gonna want more than that, and they're gonna want more and more and more.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Jaden Ivey, because for me, in my opinion, if this team pans out, pushes in the near future to contend, Jaden Ivey has the best chance of scoring the most points per game, in my opinion, with his explosiveness, and you can kind of see it with his potential. So I mean, it's tough to get rid of him if just for a player. The fact that you're banking on it, but that's a tough take.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, again, I would probably not move Jaden Ivey, but is there anybody on this team? Obviously, you said you'd move Ivey. That's untouchable. Is Cade the only one in that category? Is he in that category if you're willing to move Ivey?
Cade and Duren, I think, are untouchable, basically.
I mean, what's untouchable?
Of course, you'd move for Giannis.
Yeah,
a realistic trade, Caden.
Yeah, realistic
Duren.
trade.
Realistically, I think Cade's the only untouchable.
I guess, yeah, like like if you really think about untouchable and like in the realm of guys to get, like if the KD thing was done again and KD wanted to come to Detroit and they're like, it's all these picks plus Duren and whatever, you'd be all right with throwing Duren in. Like, it would hurt, but like,
yeah,
it'd be something that happened.
I agree. So like in a case like Mike, you just shouted out Devin Booker. say whatever some circumstances happen. Chris Paul is gone or whatever. KD's injured again, and Book says I want to go home. I think I would be happy, or I would be okay with moving Ivy, and I would be okay with moving Duren. So I guess the
I
only
don't think Duren would be moved in that situation.
And I'll trade anyone to get Devin Booker with Kate Cunningham.
I agree. Not everybody, but anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. If Devin Booker in the offseason or when his contract gets down and Chris Paul is officially on a walker and team's falling apart, Aiden's still mopey, still in Phoenix, and he wants out, I'd trade pretty much anyone to get Devin Booker to team up with Kate Cunningham. Anyone's available.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you on that one. We're wrapping up the pod here. I do want to ask you guys one more, just general NBA questions. But any points you guys want to touch on? Anything you want to talk about Piston related?
I mean, I have my 5 most underrated and overrated players. I can save that for another pod as well.
Is that 5 overrated, underrated Pistons or NBA?
There is 1 Pistons in the underrated.
Oh, Gabe thinks Killian is underrated. All right, then if you guys don't have any more Piston points, I want to ask you this question because, again, Amit and I very briefly discussed this, but just briefly, but 3 new faces here compared to the last week. Real simple question. Who do you think is coming out of the East? Who do you think is coming out of the West?
Out of the East, I got the Bucks. Giannis is just like Superman at this point. I think when he puts his head down, he's borderline unstoppable. And that's not to talk about the rest of this team. Brook Lopez is putting on that very legitimate defensive player of the year.
D-boy, yeah.
D-boy somehow having the best season of his career in his early 30s here. Drew Holiday is just he's a menace, man. Like he might not be the one that you want as your A1 point guard all the time, but like the guys on this team, it works out. Chris Middleton has started hitting shots again. I think what was the 4 of them combined for it was Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Giannis in their last game combined for 100 points on 60% shooting or some shit like that. And they have the shooting, they have the defense, they have the scheme, and they have the best player in the NBA that I think they can just kind of just overpower every other team in the Eastern Conference.
And real quick, the West, who you got?
Phoenix.
Yeah,
they just got the maybe 3 best pull-up jump shooters of all time. They're just gonna come in and take turns dismantling. I think they have the perfect roster to beat I think the best team in the West is the Nuggets, but I think that Phoenix has the roster to just punish all of the defensive shortcomings they have with Jokic, and I think it's Phoenix.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you there. Gabe, who you got?
Exact same as Connie. I do think Denver is the best team in the NBA aside from the Bucks, but I can see now Jokic in a drop coverage, KD just unhurling 42 points, 16 for 20 shooting, just in the mid range on every single pick and roll, and like Connie said, the Bucks, I think they're gonna roll their way to the NBA title. Giannis is pretty clearly the most unstoppable player in the NBA, and they're deep. They got shooters, they got defense, they got a good coach, they got experience, chemistry. They have no weaknesses, and they're also the first seed, so they don't have to play Philly in the second round.
Yeah, definitely a really, really deep team. Mike, I know you love some hot takes. You got anything different for us, or you got the same 2 teams?
Absolutely. I'm glad you picked the best for last year. Let's make some noise here. I agree. Bucks, best team in the league. They should have won the whole thing last year if Chris Middleton stayed healthy. They Boss had no business going to the finals last year. They barely squeaked their way out of it because their third best player was out. So I got the Bucks going to the finals. And you ready, guys? I'm gonna say it.
Golden State.
How are you feeling about the Lakers?
Okay.
The Lakers.
I can explain.
Floor's all yours.
I can explain. You know, the Lakers guaranteed will be in that play-in tournament. Guaranteed. And when LeBron comes back, man, I saw that mean Instagram post of him on IG this afternoon. The guy's ready. He's healing up. He's getting ready. He's 39 years old. He's waiting for that one last push. He is going to go all out on this team. He's happy with the squad he's got. He's got rid of Westbrook. He's got rid of, all those bums. And he's got a little bit more help on defense, a little bit on shooting, a little bit more versatile, a little bit more, it's a little bit more in depth. Davis, again, he's still healthy, miracle. So you got that going for him. And then you look at the divisions, look at the standings, you get out of the play-in tournament, and, who are they playing the first round? Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. Is Ja Morant? Can the Lakers beat Memphis in the first round? Potentially, but it's still, a little on the fence. You wouldn't put your life on the line on that. Ja Morant is even going to be playing in the playoffs. He's got all, his personal issues. We'll stay out of it, but, you never know. Brandon Clark, ACL out for the year. They're a little banged up. Then you go in the second round. Who is he going to be playing? As of now, you got the Kings and the Clippers playing each other, battling out. Can they beat the Clippers? Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Can you trust them being healthy the whole playoff run? Are they even good enough? The Kings, they're too young. They might not even understand the pressure when they get to LeBron and Anthony Davis. And then look at that. You're right there in the conference finals with Denver. It's possible. I'm not taking it out of the equation. I like the Lakers, but if I had to pick like a safe bet, I really like the Suns.
But the Lakers, they are up big right now, so they're gonna hop on 34 and 35, which is tied with Dallas. It's half a game behind Minnesota, and they're almost out of that play-in tournament again with LeBron James coming back. I could see it. I honestly really could see it, especially if the Kings do end up matching with the Clippers, whoever. In the first round, they play the winner of that round. I think they would smack the Clippers.
They can beat Minnesota. They can beat Dallas. They have
Dallas
not much
is
help.
bad.
Karl Anthony Towns soft. And Gobert. I don't know how he's potentially still in the league, but I don't see the Lakers losing to any of those teams. There's just no way. It's just.
I would say there's definitely a way. The Lakers could get bounced in the play-in tournament. They could get bounced in the first round. Would you say that they're favorites in any of those series?
I think they're definitely. I think they got to be favorite if they're in the play-in tournament with a fully healthy team. They have to be the favorite to get out of there.
What about in a series? Like, say they get out of it and they're the 7th seed and they're playing the Grizzlies, and hypothetically Ja Morant is back because the NBA is going to bring him back because the playoffs are the only thing that matters, and you're going to have your best American star on the court during that time.
I think they
Lakers favored.
Lakers favored versus a healthy Memphis team.
They have no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark.
Well, when Steven Adams will be back?
He just got a knee injection of stem cells. That doesn't sound very good.
Yeah, and Steven Adams, are we really like, Steven Adams?
I would say that.
No, if he plays,
for this team, Steven Adams is huge because he takes so much pressure off of Jaren Jackson Jr. and allows him just to be that roaming force on defense.
The thing is, Lakers would have the 2 best players in the series in a playoff series.
And
Ja Morant
he's not as good as Davis or LeBron in a playoff series.
All right,
he's better than both of those guys right now in a playoff.
Tony, that's foolish.
He can't score in the half court.
Foolish.
He dropped 50 on the Warriors last year. They were the NBA champions, and he wrecked them. The Warriors won that series with Ja Morant out sidelined. He destroyed the best
is the
defense
greatest
in the
player
NBA.
of all time.
Yeah, you can't.
Davis is a top 50 big.
If they
They're
get past
smarter.
Memphis,
They're bigger. They're stronger.
they could beat the Clippers or the Kings in the second round easily. Because when it comes closer to that ring, man, the pressure's on, and you know that Anthony Davis and LeBron James will show up when it comes.
I don't know that AD is showing up.
I just wouldn't bet against LeBron.
Healthy, he's showing up.
If he's healthy, he's showing up. Is he going to play 3 straight games where games are every other day?
Not if they're up 3-0.
I want to revisit that Ja Morant is the 3rd best player in that series and can't score in a half-court set. I think if Ja Morant showed us anything, is that his game translates to the playoffs. Like last year, he showed his game translates to the playoffs. He could do it at any level at any time.
Who's he going to pass it to? Ball hogging Brooks?
He averaged 10. Last year in the playoffs, he was 27 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists with 2 steals a game.
That's LeBron on an off day.
Okay, yeah, it's LeBron James. I'm not saying he's the best player in the series. Also, that's LeBron, not when he's 40 years old.
No, 39. He's still in his 30s, man.
Sorry, 39 years old. And an Anthony Davis that,
looks healthy.
Who's going to guard AD with no Steven Adams?
And no Brandon.
You're assuming, if you can assume no Steven Adams, I can assume no AD for the 3rd and 4th game of that series.
That series will go to game 6 or 7. Guaranteed.
Anyways,
probably closer to 7.
Hey, let's wrap it up.
We're rambling.
Plus 2,000, boys. Plus 2,000 for the Lakers to win the West.
Put some money on it. I can't sports gamble in North Carolina.
Yeah, you know what? I might, and I'll
do it, man. Put $100 on it.
Nah, there's always, it's good value to sprinkle a little. Good value to sprinkle. You never know, man. You never know.
All right, we've rambled on quite enough here outside of the NBA. A lot of Lakers talk here. A lot of sports betting talk here. But any other points you guys want to touch on before we start wrapping up and getting out of here?
Well, I pray for Killian every single day to get better. That's all.
Hey, 20 points tonight. Anyways, Pistons only have 2 games rest this week. They play the Nuggets. They host the Nuggets before playing the Miami Heat. We don't have to go into record predictions here. I think we'll predict a similar scoreline here.
Over.
Well, we can always predict for them to cover their spread.
How about it?
Covering.
They might cover.
Yeah, I would say not covering, but maybe we can get you a little Buffs On podcast sports betting section, Mike.
Yeah, possibly. I'd love to be a part of that.
All right, fellas. Well, thank you if you guys are still listening here. It's been a wild ride, this one. I want to thank you if you're still listening at this point, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffs On podcast. Throw the Buffs on, Detroit. The future is bright.
Yes, sir.